Right, it's Holly Mckeen here in the studio of Marsha Silverman. And Marsha is throwing some of her exquisite tiny little bottles with the really narrow necks. And we're going to show you how it is she does those narrow little necks.
Okay. This has already been thrown to the point where I have shaped the basic part of the pot. It has to get to a point where you're done with the bottom, you've gotten the clay up from the foot, you've started to shape it, and you come around, and from about, 2/3 of the way up, I figure that's what I'm going to make the shoulder and neck from. So everything below that is pretty much going to stay still, in part because my hands are just going to be too big to fit down in there without constantly opening the neck.
Okay.
So, okay. Now, if you just collar in from the outside, like this is going to get thicker and thicker, and the rim is going to also start rippling because it's like an elastic band that's lost its elasticity. So what I do is I let the rim ride between these two fingers, in the crook of those two fingers, and I have the wall of the pot between them. I have a little bit of pressure between my fingers. The clay can't go anywhere at this point except where I take it. And so I now bring my hands somewhat together. And then I stop because at this point I have to thin out some more.
So now Marsha's going back down into the shoulder, and she's going to pull up a little bit more and thin out that neck even more. If you try to just compress that in from the outside, it will thicken and thicken, and newer potters will notice that in the end, when they pick up the pot, it's top heavy because the top portion of the neck is much thicker than the walls of the rest of the pot. So Marsha's thinning out this top all the time as it gets thinner into the little narrow neck. It's very delicate, I should say. You can see the size of the pot. This is 1 pound of clay. So these pots are feather light when they're finished.
And I have kind of small hands, so the pots are definitely not very big. They are not, however, what would be considered a miniature. I don't hesitate to cut off excess clay, either because I've thought of what I want to do for the neck and I don't need it all, or because I'm having problems. It's kind of whatever works. At this point, I do start collaring in just from the outside.
It's already very thin.
And I might come up two, sometimes 3 times. In this case, I want to get something in there so that I can both compress the wall and also thin it out just a little bit.
See how much higher she's come with this neck. If you want to see more of Marsha's work, it's at www.marshasilverman.com. And she has some beautiful carved work as well, where she's carved these very delicate pieces. one thing I've learned from Marsha is, I'm still learning, is when
Okay.
to stop.
And I've almost reached that point.
What do you need?
I need my little stick.
You see over there, all these little beautiful little bottles on the shelf. Gorgeous.
Okay,
Underneath.
this is the last pull.
Beautiful.
And if it does get a little ripple in it, I can usually take care of that when I trim the piece. Okay.
Yeah, these will be after they're good and leather hard. They'll be put in a chuck and the last little bit trimmed off to refine them. But for a pot that hasn't yet been trimmed, Marsha, these are pretty beautiful.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, there we are. Thank you.